So the best way to think about Donald Trump and his administration is that it's basically the Titanic. The ship is going down. There's not enough lifeboats for everyone. And you know how Trump is. He's greedy. He's selfish. He's going to kick everyone else overboard and say, that lifeboat's mine, not yours. I'm more important, etc. When you look at the news of what's happening, it actually also directly relates to what's happening in Korea right now. And I want to share both of these stories with you guys today. So first, let's start with the USA, and then we'll get into Korea. USA. So Trump says Hegseth denied issuing order to kill boat crew. Okay. It's from the Washington Post. And basically, when you hear Trump recently, I think it was on Air Force One, and I showed it in the last video, but basically Trump's sort of distancing himself enough from Pete so that he can give Pete Hegseth all of the responsibility. And ultimately, if this thing goes pretty bad for Hegseth, Trump has a way out. So for example, this is Fox News. It says, Trump says he believes Hegseth 100%, right? This is all Pete. I believe him 100%, but this is all him, right? I asked him, did you do it? He said, no, okay, I believe him. It's all him, right? This gives away for Trump's like, I don't know. I just asked him and it's all his thing, right? And we're talking about the Venezuelan drug strike boat where Pete is denying it, right, amid allegations. And the whole thing is all resting on, did Pete Hegseth give a kill order, right? Did we essentially say, okay, no survivors, no evidence, destroy everything, no matter what? And that's something that I've been saying all along here, where it's all very questionable because normally a standard operating procedures regarding these boats, if there's a boat coming, literally you're the Navy, you can just stop it and just say, hey, turn around or we'll, shoot. Doesn't mean you have to necessarily just use a missile. You could just shoot out the engines, right? These are small boats. They're not that big. The one that we're talking about today, I think 11 people were on board. They shot a missile at it. The boat was on fire. They saw that there were 2 people who survived the first attack, and then the question is, there's a second attack that came in. The question is this orders like basically coming from Pete Hegseth? And you could argue both times, both missiles where the boat has no threat, pose no threat to the Navy. I haven't heard, and I mentioned this before, and if you guys heard anything different, please let me know, but I haven't heard of any of these boat strikes to where the boats are shooting at the U.S. Navy. So I haven't heard any of that. I to my knowledge, I don't think they have shot at the U.S. Navy at all. I think there's a high chance that some of these boats don't even know they're being targeted, which is pretty ridiculous. Because I would want to know, just for example, are we on the intercom saying, hey, turn around, or we'll fire, right? Or are we doing that kind of stuff? I don't know. I mean, there's just, again, no witnesses, no evidence, these kind of thing. I don't even know what's on these boats. They're claiming it's, dangerous stuff. And then the boats don't even really have range to get to the USA. These are small boats. The whole thing is ridiculous, and it's like really far from the USA. So to say it's an imminent threat, I think is absolutely, nonsense. It's not an imminent threat to the USA, nor is it an imminent threat to our United States Navy. And if it is, please show us the evidence on this stuff. So this is something to where Congress has been like asking for evidence, and then the stuff they've been getting has been just not great. And there was a big thing yesterday where it was said that when they did have whatever meeting, I guess the Pentagon didn't bring lawyers because, in my opinion, I don't think any lawyer is going to want to sign off on this. The whole thing looks bad. I'll just be frank on that and make it long story short. The whole thing looks bad. And Pete keeps like implicating himself with the weird crap that he's tweeting out. So, for example, he tweets out this weird, like it says, a classic Franklin story. And also it says, for your Christmas wish list, Franklin targets narco terrorists. It's got like a turtle shooting at boats. It's like, it's bizarre crap. I mean, he doesn't take this stuff seriously. And we're talking about military action, right? And if you want to understand who these people are, see my last video. This is actually a really important video to watch because it shows some behind the scenes of the type of people, be it at Fox News or in Trump administration. Basically, they're not serious people. They're just more interested in selfies. And essentially, the last South Park episode, seriously, made fun of Pete Hegseth for basically just walk around doing a selfie and just trying to be a wannabe Rambo, basically. And this captures the insane nonsense world that we're in. And so in the USA these days, the way we communicate with each other, I guess, is with memes, right? So this is a meme back. Franklin is prosecuted for war crimes and murder on the high seas. Another person writes, Franklin is Canadian. You're a sick man. Hegseth, get help. Another one, Vindman, Secretary of War Crimes, right? Here's another person. There's nothing Christian about war crimes. And another person, we're ruled by the dumbest, most childish, most evil a-holes on earth. And it's hard to go through this stuff every day. When I read this stuff, I lose my mind probably the same way that you do. And I'll just be frank, like hanging out with you all the time, it keeps me sane, and I hope you stay sane as well. And also in our community, we have a lot of people who are willing to have conversations about this stuff in honest ways, and also call this BS out. I mean, this Trump thing is really a lot of stress. I also want to say that this battle that we're seeing is also going on around the world. We're having it here in Korea. And I want to show you a little about Korea, and then I'll get more into it. So have a look at this first. So greetings from Busan. I just want to show you guys a bit what it looks like. We're celebrating Christmas here, and it's kind of a space theme. A lot of people are out and enjoying the weather, and I hope you are as well. Sometimes people ask me what's life like in Busan. This is what it's like. And then this is what street life in Busan is like. We have a big billboard behind us. As you can see, the cars go by. I'll show you guys on that side here. There they go. Weather's been really good lately, in case you're curious. And then that's some of the cafe and seating. This is Busan. And if you want to see more of life in Korea, you can check out our vlog channel. It's called Chris and Yeji. And I'll see you there. So that's just a little bit about life in Korea, because sometimes people ask me about it. And I also want to talk to you about the politics of it, because all these things relate. If you want to have a good life, right? If you want to have a stable country, you want to create an environment where you limit corruption. Corruption doesn't really serve the regular people at all. And so this is what we have at the moment. It's actually very similar to the Trump situation. So the former President Yoon, is basically like Trump, like a MAGA type person. And there are sort of like culty people that go with it. It's the same kind of stuff. It really is. And you always wonder, like, who are these people? Like, their sort of like rationale and the reasoning for supporting, said party and said leader is just bat crap crazy. That's the best way to describe it. And this is the headlines. Look at this. South Korea's ex-leader risk nuclear war to seize power. And the basic gist of it is like, in order to do, he did a martial law type thing. And in order to do that, he was like, I think they were, and this is all, alleged, so he'll have a chance to defend himself, but basically like sending drones over to North Korea to cause a war. It's kind of nuts. And then you would be like, oh, okay, now I'm defending you. See, so it's all their fault or whatever. South Korea's Yoon had dictatorial mindset well before the martial law decree, leaked papers. And we're gonna get like a bunch of this stuff coming out. I'm telling you guys, it's just like Trump. I made several videos on this topic. If you haven't seen them, please do. It's hard to go through all this stuff every day, because like if you have no knowledge of these things, it not necessarily makes sense. But I want to make it clear, like it's directly related. It is directly related to what's happening in USA. So USA is not the only place this ever happened. It's happened here in Korea. This is 12/12 today. I recommend this movie all the time. It shows how a military coup happens and basically how the people like Trump organize. It really is similar. You got to watch it. 1987 shows when people essentially decide that it's time to rise up and go for change. And I'll give you the basic gist of the story. That there's a protester that's killed, and the government tries to cover it up, and people start to ask questions. And I'll leave it at that. That's like the opening scene. And the way that the government handles it is just like the Trump stuff. They say the most like bat crap crazy stuff, and people start to call it out. And this brings us to current to present, right? So this is where we are right now. It says Yoon trial begins over Pyongyang drone allegations. And let me read the description of it, because you'll find it fascinating. It's very similar to what we're going on with Trump and the Venezuela stuff. So this is what it says. It says another trial began. This is today. Monday for former President Yoon, this time over his alleged involvement in the South Korea military drones being flown over Pyongyang last year, right? Trying to cause something. The drone deployment, the investigators argue, was aimed at goading North Korea into retaliatory actions that could be used to justify declaring emergency martial law. I'm telling you guys, it's like the same crap. And then you also have something like this. So that now people who were tied to Yoon are all forced to apologize. And then kind of what's going on is like, okay, who's going to go to prison, who's not? Seriously, these are news right now, December 1st, 2025. You can see it. Top police commander apologizes over unconstitutional role in martial law. And as I talked about before, I made videos on this, but like we got text messages, and I was like, martial law, what the heck is this? And it was a night. I think it might have been like a Saturday. I can't remember exactly which day, but it was at night, and because everyone basically gets it, and we were in Busan, and then it was a whole rigmarole. But essentially, what it ended up being is some people knew what was going on right away. That it's like this is messed up. So they slow walked it. So they didn't necessarily ignore orders, because this is what's going to play out with the Trump people is like, are you going to follow these illegal orders or not? Some people did go with it, but they ended up, having deep regret, deep shame, and like major apologies. And essentially, because what it boils down to, when you're first given an order, you're like, okay, that's my orders, I'm going to go do it. But then you start to like carry said things out, and you're like, what the heck? This doesn't seem right at all. So for example, let me read the description of it, and you guys will understand like what we're talking about. So it says, both the Constitution and the Martial Law Act stipulate that if the majority of the 300-member National Assembly demands that martial law be lifted, the president is mandated to comply. Police and military during the martial law block the entrance to the parliament compound, but opposition lawmakers use various methods, including climbing over the fence, to participate in the crucial vote. So basically, the president, in Korea was trying to do a martial law thing, basically, take over with the military, and then, other people like man, this is messed up. Like basically, the parliament / Congress, and so what you'd have to do to overturn the president is, come in, take a vote. If y'all vote to end the martial law effectively, then it's over. And so then from the Yoon's point of view, is like, well, I'm going to call on the police and the military to block you from entering into the Congress so you can't vote. Do you guys see how this would play out? And so fortunately, cooler heads prevailed, and it was like, because essentially you show up and you I'm just telling you, Frank, you tell your brothers and sisters, like your fellow countrymen, it's like, yo, we're not here to fight you. We're here to uphold democracy. And some of the soldiers are just like, wait, but we have to hold democracy because Yoon told us that you're all evil and that you're all cheating elections and there's all this conspiracy stuff. I'm seriously, it's just like Trump. But this is sort of where you just need to be honest about this stuff. And, when you're being ordered to do something that's like attacking fellow people, or the orders that you're be giving is just like to cause massive chaos, this is where you're Trump. It's up to, people to show moral conscience here, right? So listen to how the police are apologizing now. This would be like the head. It says, you, the different person, but not Yoon, but you offered a sincere apology for the police being mobilized in the unconstitutional martial law due to a misguided judgment from police leadership, which, quote, greatly disappointed and hurt the people. This incident, he said, also significantly damaged the pride and honor of the police officers. Quote, from now on, the police will have nothing but the public in mind and carry on our duties based on fundamental value of protecting constitutional order. We will not cooperate or sympathize with unconstitutional illegal actions, no matter what the circumstances. And when you hear this language, like immediately I was just like, this is like the very same stuff that we're seeing in USA. Remember, the senators and representatives are saying, don't follow legal orders. And actually, it was on our news too, also here in Korea, that they're looking at passing new laws to make it that if you've ever given, an order that's unconstitutional, like make it more, I won't say easy the right word, I'll just say like more ready acceptable to, ignore said orders. Just put mechanisms in place to protect soldiers and whistleblowers, that kind of stuff. Because I was seeing in the U.S. news to where they were talking about if a soldier disobeys an order thinking that's unconstitutional, then it turns out to be constitutional, then the soldier's in all kinds of trouble. Which I get that, right? But you want to in these kind of situations, you just want to make this law very, very clear, and also give soldiers a way to say talk to legal, these kind of things. And I know it's difficult in these situations because like we literally just saw it play out in Korea, because essentially what it was is trying to make it more clear how crazy this whole thing was. For some of the soldiers, they're like, oh, is North Korea attacking? Am I supposed to do something? And then like when their missions were to, go to the parliament / Congress here in Korea, I was like, wait, what am I doing here? I don't see North Koreans anywhere. like do you see how that would play out? Because from the soldier perspective, you're conditioned and trained to follow orders. So this is where leadership matters quite a bit. And I'll just say, like, again, the party is called the PPP, and they, or as a People Power, I think People Power Party, that's what they call themselves. They changed their name because the last president in their party was also impeached. This is a terrible party. It's just like the Republicans. I'm being frank with you guys. And so what happens is when you have a terrible leader get impeached, then you just change the name of your party and pretend like you're different. It's so ridiculous. And so they're having a fight over power because Yoon created a vacuum over there, and so you got this. PPP's internal turmoil deepens as martial law anniversary approaches. I mentioned this several times on the channel, but I just want to show you guys. You can easily look this stuff up. It's Unification Church, because sometimes when I tell you it's a cult is tied to their party, it's a cult, not like say like a cult where is how can I say, if I tell you Elon Musk is a cult, it has a different meaning than like cult church, right? So Elon Musk does have a cult over there, but it's not like cult church in this sort of sense to where people are claiming they're God and they have meetings all the time, like literally. The book Divine Principle informs the beliefs of the Unification Church. Moon considered himself the second coming of Christ, right? And blah, blah, blah. So anytime you have a sort of organization that is claiming that you're God, and then you all got to get married in certain ways because of us, etc. And then now they're caught in bribery scandals. This is the first president from their party was impeached. The same kind of stuff caught with the cold and bribery issue. This is actually on trial today. It says December 1st, 2025. I want to show you this happened today, right now. At the trial of South Korea's Unification Church head, prosecutors allege luxury bribes. And I want to read through this stuff because it's exactly the same thing that's got going on in the USA right now. Because sometimes people ask me, what's going on in Korea? I'm showing you. I'll read it. The trial of the head of South Korea's Unification Church started on Monday, with prosecutors betraying Han Hak-ja as keen to exert political influence and accusing her of using Chanel bags to bribe former First Lady Kim Kyung-hee. And the Chanel bag was actually a big issue here in Korea. People would protest and bring bags to sort of mock her. And it was it's been a wild contention, and it's different in the sense of, say, the Trump administration, where like the money's like massive amount of money flying around. He's building barns and stuff like that. So I don't think you'd be able to get away with the barn stuff in most countries. That's like such an extreme situation. It's bizarre to see it, it happening in USA. Like, it's so obvious. Like, it is what it is. Let's see, there's more here. It says the case is part of a string of investigations by special prosecutors into ousted President Yoon Suk-yeol and his wife Kim in the wake of Yoon's martial law order in December 2024. It's been a year now. Attending the hearing in a wheelchair, Han, 82, denied the accusation. So I think he's trying to generate sympathy. You can see that right there. Oh, I'm old. I don't know anything about this, that kind of stuff. Han, head of the religious group known as the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, sought to bribe Kim with 2 Chanel bags, a diamond necklace, and wild ginseng in return for business and political favors. And it was funny because Trump, because he doesn't really know what he's talking about, but when he met with the current leader, President Lee, he's like, I heard there's like church prosecutions over there or something like that. But Trump has no idea what he's talking about. So basically what it is there are some MAGA type people here in Korea, and every now and then you'll see them run around waving American flags. We love Trump. But again, I'm telling you, it's MAGA type people. Charlie Kirk even actually came here to Korea, met with a bunch of religious type people, but it's more like these culty things. So, not every Korean who goes to church is part of the culty part of it, because there's different types of church. The best way to describe the Unification Church, I already told you a little bit, but think of it more like a Scientology kind of thing, but maybe mixed with Mormon Scientology and whatever. And I know whenever you get involved with this stuff, people get really, really sensitive about these topics, but for any of this stuff, it's all available on the internet. It's all public, so you can, see that I'm not just making random stuff up. I just want to make that clear. And actually, this is also a true story. Sometimes you'll see whacked out Koreans who speak English because they study this stuff and they want to be close to Trump or whatever, like write weird crap on the internet. I'll see it in the comments every now and then. It's like, okay, whatever, dude. But it's all public. Again, this is also all public. Here's no more. It says, Kim admitted she received the bags as gifts. That's the first lady. From the church via a broker, but claimed there was no quid pro quo. Right. Okay, whatever. But that's her claim. Han is also accused of bribing close confidant Yoon with cash. Okay. and helping Yoon win the presidential election in 2022 by mobilizing church members in return for his backing of church projects. So obviously there's a lot of money involved here. Prosecutors argued that Han misappropriated the donations of the church members. Of course he did. Quote, defendant Han Hak-ja is the absolute power holder of the Unification Church at the top. Not a single penny of illegal funds or lobbying can be moved without her approval, one of the prosecutors told the court, showing a flowchart of the church's alleged structure. Through collusion and between politics and government, which is prohibited by the Constitution, donations were turned into a tool for buying power. And that's what we have going on here in Korea. If you're curious about what I'm doing in Korea and, my sort of background, because people always ask, this is my book. You can check it out. I'm Vietnamese. I was born in Vietnam. I came at the end of the Vietnam War. It's a long story. I was brought over by the military. I was in a plane crash. And then I grew up in the USA, and I've been all over the place, and it's really hard to explain. I'll just say this. I try my best to make connections with as many people as possible. I try my best to understand the world. And, for me, every day is always something new to learn and always new ways to grow. And I think the way our world is structured, sadly, and I'm just talking about my book here, we're talking about what's going on with Trump and Hegseth, is you have a lot of people who are completely isolated and disconnected from other people's lives, knowing how the other half lives. And so for me, when you meet lots of different types of people and say, I'm talking about the US situation and the Korean situation today, and, I used to live in China, Japan, Vietnam, traveled, throughout Europe and such, like you'll start to realize like people are pretty same. And, the regular person just wants to have a fair life, fair living, et cetera. And, the more educated you are and the more traveled you get, you'll start to see like these sort of patterns and stuff. That's why I'm showing you these two things today. And, the situation here in Busan, as you guys saw in the video, it's hard to explain the where Korea used to be compared to where it is now. It used to be very much like what you're seeing under the Trump administration. That's why I mentioned those movies. Like they had secret police running around, arresting people and stuff like that. And there is a way out and there is a path forward. You don't have to live like you do in USA, but you have to be honest about this stuff. And it's sad because I see it. I see it, guys. I see it on, whatever social media, or I see it in comments. People who follow Trump stuff, they're just easily conned and they don't realize like there are other ways. And also too, just to be sad, it's just be reality. There's racism in USA. It's just real. I wish I could go back and run for office or whatever in USA, but it's really hard as Asian Americans. Being frank with you guys, there's only a few districts that you can do well in. Much of the country just looks at someone like myself and is like, Chris could never be a leader. He doesn't look the right way. Now, they don't say that explicitly, but it's in their mind. It's the same way for some people. It's like, they see two candidates, they'll be like, I just like that other one candidate better than the other one. And it's because, it's one's male, one's female. And so for some people, they just think of men are the only ones who could be leaders, is the same way that you think of some people only think white people could be leaders. And it's painful and frustrating to see in USA, because essentially what you're doing then is you're limiting your choices to a very small portion of the population, when you could be looking at all kinds of, and it's not just, race, it's also based on gender or sex, however you want to call it. Because if you open up your mind to look at like all the population in USA could be in a really great shape. There's a lot of still very, very good people over there. It's just, you got to convince the other ones that like, hey, it's okay to like, hang out with different types of people that may have a different religion than you, speak a different language, eat different food, but it doesn't mean they're like evil people or anything like that. So I know I'm going off on tangents, but when I explain the Korean stuff to you guys, for me, I enjoy just going through other things, because when you start to hear about other situations in other countries, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. It's actually eerily similar that's going on in USA. And when you see those movies for yourself, I keep mentioning, you'll see exactly what I'm saying. So, every day I wake up, I live here in Busan, and there's so much I wish I could share with you all on what it's like here. It's a whole other world, and it opens your eyes enormously. It's not just living here in Korea; it's going from state to state to state. I've been in multiple states in USA, and you'll see it for yourself. And so, sadly, like a lot of the Trump people, they've never left their hometown. Even it's just a reality, because you'll read these things that were like they hate immigrants, but they never actually met one, kind of stuff. But that's where we're at. So anyway, I just wanted to share some thoughts with you guys. I do appreciate your time, everyone, and I catch y'all in the next video.